Here at Helmuth Ford, we are a small town dealership with no hassle and no pressure.
Delta Fire and Rescue presents the Delta Haunted House at 109 North Center Street in Delta. Admission is just $10 per person. The Delta Haunted House is open each Friday and Saturday throughout October and on Halloween night from 8 to 10 p.m. Food and drinks will be available for purchase, and now accepting cash and most major credit cards. It's the Delta Fire and Rescue Delta Haunted House, Fridays and Saturdays in October and on Halloween night. Watch Pekin Panther football live right here this fall on Steve Shetler Media, Facebook, and YouTube with live announcers and an updated scoreboard, plus an area scoreboard to keep you updated on other schools of interest. It's Pekin Panther football live right here on Steve Shetler Media. And a good morning. Welcome into the sports section. We are live from Brothers Market in downtown Sigourney, where savings are made simple. Make sure you get in on all of the savings here at Brothers Market. We have got our host, Andy McGuire, standing by with our normal first guest of the morning, Mr. Clint Weber. And guys, I'll let you take it away.
Good morning, Coach. Big rebound win last night after that crushing Lisbon loss, 61-13 last night against Highland. What were your keys to victory last night?
Yeah, well, we watered the fundamentals down pretty heavily this past week in practice and just got back to the basics. You know, we're pretty, like to say, versatile on offense, but something Coach Howard taught me back in the day is, just when you struggle or, you have a loss, you got to get back to, the pillars that you lean on, and that was just the very simple things that our offense run on, and I thought that was a big key to just coming out. I thought we come out with a big purpose last night, and we were able to just execute on nearly everything that we threw at them on both sides of the ball. So, yeah, our kids were focused, and this is a group that will bounce back to adversity. They were very focused all week, and then they had no problem bringing the energy last night.
61-13 against a much improved Highland team. I think from last year to this year, there's been a ton of growth from Highland. You and I were chatting briefly about it before our talk this morning, that Highland actually put good numbers up against Columbus and Lisbon and, some of the stiffer competition in the district. What was the difference for Highland in those games to this game, in your opinion? Was it all what you guys did, or was it something that they were maybe not hitting on?
Maybe a little of both. They had a guy that was kind of banged up and out a little bit last game, but he was a big key part against the Lisbon game where they had it so close in the third quarter with them. But, hindsight, I like to think our defense is a little bit different than most people's, just kind of the way we our alignment. And I thought it gave them early problems. They come out with an offensive formation they hadn't shown it all year yet. So we were kind of prepared for their single wing, their spread wing, and then, another thing they showed last night. So I think just the work that our defense does from June 1 or the first Monday in June on, it allowed our kids just to, not panic when they see something new, but just adapt because they know their counting rules. And we spent a ton of time on that in the summer so that, when we get to the situations like that, they're just easily adaptable. So, I obviously credit our offense, but, we try to play defense first every game, and we were able to last night. And I think it allows our offense to play looser and have more fun sometimes instead of worrying about scoring first.
last week we were talking about that loss to Lisbon and how crushing really that was. I hate to keep using the word crushing, but it was a tough loss for you guys. And, the conversation last week was about how do you rebound this week and how do you come back and compete, knowing that the district title is probably out of reach at this point. Obviously, you rebounded really well with 61 points on the board. How was the week of practice? Were the guys up? How did that flow through the week?
Well, like I said, we watered fundamentals down. We almost acted like it was August 1 a little bit, and we even shortened it a little bit, actually. Right now at week 5, week 6, I think that's a pretty accurate depiction of the year that I don't want to say guys are getting tired, but some mental fatigue sets in when you got to practice the basics, and you've been doing it since really June. So just finding ways to not excite the kids, but, lock the kids in so every rep's really quality. We're a quality over quantity guy type program, but I think just finding a new approach for a week or two, it just allowed our kids to I'm just big on mental and physical, being fresh in those aspects going into a game where you really do need to bounce back.
Aside from preparing for the week and getting in the games, and aside from that Lisbon game, you've put up some gaudy numbers, some huge numbers. I'm assuming at this point in the season you're looking at getting some more guys into the mix and maybe even looking ahead to next season. I know you want to take it one game at a time and get into the postseason, but what can this do for your program when you're facing maybe a little bit less stiff competition in terms of continuing to grow that program?
Yeah, so it's funny. It's funny you say that. We, as we felt that we were getting a comfortable lead last night, we would my question to our staff at half is, what guys do we need to get in to develop in case of an injury later, or those kids that are kind of between the lines right now, between, not a freshman, but will be a contributor next year. And we were able to, Sam Sharp's a guy who he's got great size and strength, and he's got some D-line time last night. And, he's just one example of, we need to get him experience and get looks at him so he's on the field. Bo Latcham, Brogan Spray, two other guys that they're quick to be inserted, with nights like last night. So, but when you have a running clock, it does go quick. So we got some of those guys in, early third or even late second, and try to get some reps out of them. And then before we knew it, we were down to, getting all our freshmen on the field. So, yeah, development's huge. And, the smaller school you're in, you're going to find that, classes are up and down. So next year it could look a little bit different. There could be some guys that could be starting this year, but they might go to a different position because, again, you're trying to get your best 11 on the field most nights.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing watching these classes, and some programs are at the next level and some are really struggling to even field a team, especially in the Class A, 1A realm. I think 8-man has changed that landscape a little bit just because you can take some of those, very small schools and they can still have a program and still put it together. But, last night I was at Pella Christian and they had a curtain raiser, a freshman game, and I think they had counted 21 freshmen on that roster. And that wave is going to come through. Can you talk about the kids and how as a freshman your body might be of one type and then the growth from freshman to sophomore, even sophomore to junior, how the landscape can change on your team immensely?
Yeah, it's funny you say that as well because Randy Schrader, a Pekin alum, came down 2 weeks ago to speak to our team, and he was talking about the beauty of high school football is there could be a freshman that's 120 pounds, and he gets to play football just like that senior who's 220 pounds. So, I think the big thing is that winning grows excitement. So the more numbers you get out, you can in a healthy fashion, you can host a young team with smaller kids to play things like freshman games and JV games so that a kid who's 120 pounds, maybe he's 140 as a sophomore, he's not having a bad experience when he has to get thrown out there with seniors, especially at some of these small programs like you're saying. So we're pretty sophomore through senior heavy. So for the most part, I think we embrace that fashion. But at the same time, I'll be honest. We had a tough JV game last Monday at Lisbon, and they field a lot of just consistent numbers per class, and we're just kind of up and down from class to class, and sometimes that creates, I don't want to say an unhealthy experience, but just tough games where you're undermanned, where their JV was pretty stout, and our JV's developing, but that's why I think weight room year round is huge, nutrition, and being heavily involved with multi-sport approaches so kids can develop in more than just a football fashion, but being a competitor year-round, that's the biggest thing, because I think track and field is such a big one, because it's you against yourself most times. Sure, you're racing someone, but if you can run against somebody or yourself in your time, it's just a different style of competing. And, all the other sports are great too, so developing year-round is huge.
Yeah, I agree with you there, and I think you can say the same thing about wrestling. It's you, or the wrestler against another wrestler, and a lot of those techniques that you use on that wrestling mat are the same ones you use on the football field. So track, wrestling, kids, if you're watching this, Coach Weber says it, you should go out for both of those things, or just stay involved and stay competitive. Getting back to what you were talking about as far as the unbalance or the imbalance in the classes, freshman and sophomore, is that a product of the growing period that you guys are in right now? In my opinion, I think Pekin is on the rise. You guys are growing back to what Pekin once was, potentially, or is it just simply a numbers thing? You just don't have those numbers in those classes.
Well, it's you might have different builds. Like right now, we probably have a few more linemen in our freshman class than we do skill guys. Doesn't mean that our skill guys aren't productive. It's just I see, like right now, our senior class is very distributed evenly in terms of linemen and skill guys. Our junior class, we have a few linemen, but I feel like it's more skill guys. And then sophomores kind of a split, and freshmen, I feel like it's a few more linemen. So, that can, I don't want to say make it tougher, but it makes it more unique, and you have to find ways for your underclassmen to contribute, which is kind of the same in every program, but these thriving small schools and locations that have more numbers, they have sometimes they have the ability to kind of have a 50-50 blend of skill and line athletes in every class, again, which strengthens your fresh soft team or your JV team or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's interesting to watch these classes come through. You might be excited about one class, and then they come through, and you think, boy, we graduated a ton. How are we going to replace that? And then the next year they step up, and there's been so much growth. It doesn't feel like a college team or an NFL team where you're battling that quite as much.
I'll shout out the 2020 SK team. When we went to the Dome, the previous year we had Sam Minke and Dawson Baumert, who were just incredible linemen, and that was the year that we were supposed to make a run and do it all, and we came up short. I think we lost to Mediapolis in there. And then the next year, everybody's like, how are you going to replace these linemen? How's it all going to work out? And then all of a sudden, not other guys, but, Brady Dua, kind of the face of that team, carried SK to the Dome, put him on his shoulders, and no one thought we'd be there in 2020. So you just never know class to class, and, you never know the path you're going to get as well.
Yeah. I don't want to get too much into SK, but I think there's something similar that happened this last year where, there's so many seniors and so many guys that contributed for a lot of years. But the fact of the matter was, for SK, there were a lot of those guys on last year's team that were juniors that didn't see the field as much as they wanted to, and I know the coaching staff wanted to get them out there. It was just that was the quality of the kids. But this year they're performing at a very high level, and I'm not surprised by it. In most other programs, those guys would have been starting. Do you guys have a situation going on like that at Pekin now where you are feeling confident next year going in you're going to be able to keep this momentum going?
Yeah. Our numbers aren't quite as deep as theirs, but we were talking about that last night after the game. Is a guy like Landon Crow, who come from Sigourney, he's not a starter on offense right now. He probably should be. The position that he's at is a lot different than the positions of being split out, but that could change what we run on offense a little bit. Not an entire change, but again, you're trying to get those players all on the field, and if they have a skill set that's similar to the guy that's already out there, you're going to try to find ways to get them on there. So we do have skill guys that, I'll be honest, we have 4 running backs, and we're at a loss for words some week of who should be starting. So that's a good problem, but moving forward, it's definitely something that you're going to have to figure out. how to get them on the field.
It is a big challenge, though, for a coach to be able to keep that engagement going, and how often do you come across a kid or maybe even a parent, grandparent, whatever it might be, that say, hey, coach, my kid's not getting enough playing time. He needs to see the field. How do you handle those situations? I'll put you in a tough spot.
That's all right. Again, community buy-in and just being very transparent from the start, whether it's a parent meeting or as years go by. We try to make sure people know if they're involved with our program, we're a selfless program and we're a sacrificial program where it might be one carry for 80 yards or one carry for 8 yards and the other guy has 30 carries. When your number's called, you step in and you give it your all. And, we obviously know like we'll use the running back situation, for example. We know we have fresh running backs, that it's nice that we can rotate them. But some nights we feel like this back's the guy that needs to keep carrying it. And in some fashion, and I'm just blunt, it's like this is what it is, guys. And if you want to be part of it, you'll be part of it. And every kid on our roster now wants to be part of it.
Yeah, as a parent, as a coach, I felt both of those sets of emotions, where you look at the kids and you're just not ready. It's nothing personal. You're just not ready. Or, you have this huge competition. And maybe this kid has just 1 ounce more of what it is that you think that they need. And at the end of the day, it's a judgment call, and you have to put that out on the field, and you have to be able to defend it. So I appreciate what you do. And I guess if I have a word of advice for the parents out there that might be frustrated or not, stay with it. When you get your opportunity, kids, go after it and show why you should be on that field. Do you agree with that, Coach?
Absolutely.
Okay. A couple of weeks left in this season. Why don't you tell us about who you got next week and then the following, and then we'll wrap this thing up.
We got that wonderful thing called homecoming this week. It's a great thing. It really is. But I sound like all the older coaches saying this, but the more you coach, the more you kind of gravitate to that side. I like it, but I told them last night there's just a lot of potential with homecoming in a positive fashion and a fashion that can be distracting, but our kids know the position they put themselves in and somewhat of a bullseye they've created on their back. That we have Wapello this week for homecoming. We'll have fun and we'll participate in all the activities, but I think something that is big is people remember if you win your homecoming game. And my first couple of years we didn't win it, and I don't know if there was a huge sense of being upset other than some people, and I'm like, we got to change that. So aside from having all the fun that we will have, our players will be focused on the game and making sure that all the wonderful alumni that come back for Friday's game, is hopefully entertained and appreciative of where the program's at. And then we finish out with Louisa Muscatine. And we'll go on the road for that one. So, 2 quick weeks, and it'll be postseason already.
Yeah, time flies when you're having fun, and time flies when you're winning, Coach. Best of luck next week, and have fun with that homecoming.
Hey, thanks.
Hey, before you get out of here, just quick thoughts on last night's Daisy Dew Landscaping Player of the Game. We named Alton Williams the Player of the Game. Just some quick thoughts on him and maybe the defense overall.
Yeah, I mean, defense speaks for itself. We gave up 0 points until we put the young guys in the late third. So they were kind of begging me for their shutout stickers as a varsity crew last night. I said probably not, but we'll see. But Alton Williams, he's become quite a grown man. Like, he's a big kid, and he's just a mean junkyard dog. I caught up with his dad for a minute last night, and he's one of those guys that has just worked so hard, and I didn't know he'd be as big as he is. I think his grandpa's like a 7-foot boxer from the 50s and 60s, and like he's told me this story and showed me some pictures, and it's just I can see why Alton's so mean in there, and that's what you need out of a D lineman. So he got his wish last night of some sort of fumbled snap up in the air, and Alton caught it, and he might have returned it. Steve probably saw it better than I. He returned it for a little bit.
Yeah.
I gave him a little crap at halftime about not returning it all the way when he had like 3 guys dragging off of him. But Alton's a great kid. He deserves something like that, and I'm gonna miss him next year. So
everybody loves Big Man Rumble. Everybody loves Big Man Rumble.